I think some styles of music are more susceptible to that. Power metal as a genre with major key type stuff really kind of, Halloween did it pretty well 30 years ago, and I'm not sure that the form has advanced all that much since then, and that can kind of sound kind of samey after a while. Mm-hmm. So some change, I think, is important. We are more in the capital P, capital M progressive metal, which Dream Theater for convenience sake kind of defined as Metallica meets Rush, and that whole subgenre has, in many ways, moved a little bit around the edges. I think our contribution to that is, I think we're heavier than most of those bands, but we also combine that heavy riff-oriented approach with pretty strong melody, and then there's a cinematic quality to what we do. So that's our little corner of that. Our formula, if you want to call it a formula, the voice that we established for ourselves a few records ago hasn't changed that much. So I'm not sure that we're pushing the envelope. But you look at somebody like Leprous, or even the early Djent bands when they came out. Mm-hmm. Meshuggah was progressive with a P, but not progressive with a capital P. So
more so revolutionary.
It's all a big thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. But now, you're into the third generation of Djent, and there's that sameness is starting to creep in there as well. So what would have been called progressive 10 years ago is no longer progressive.
Right. That's actually...
For me, if it's good music, it's good music.
Yeah. No, you give the best definition that I've witnessed so far of progressive music. But the second part to my question... second part to my question is more so about, pushing the boundaries, like you said, and ignoring the limitations, the little p progressive. Do you think, is there anyone that comes to mind that you think, I guess aside from Leprous, that would be pushing those boundaries, like creating such a new sound?
Leprous is the example that I probably would have used. Mm-hmm. There probably are others that also, just because something is pushing envelopes doesn't necessarily make it pleasant to listen to.
That's true.
And there are, and a lot of, frankly, the most musical experimentation is happening in black metal, which I don't care for stylistically or auditorily. So I don't have as much of a knowledge. I'm sure somebody's out there saying that Behemoth has now merged black and thrash and black and this and that and the other thing. And the music just makes me feel bad when I listen to it. So they may be pushing boundaries, but they're not. Maybe it's not all boundaries that need to be pushed for me. So
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so what initially got you into playing music, whether it be keyboards, guitar? Was there something, musician you idolized or something that inspired you?
My parents, of the long list of stuff they pushed me into that I didn't want to do when I was growing up, they did make me take classical piano lessons when I was around 7, and I stuck with that for, long enough to realize it wasn't going to get me any dates, at which point I switched over to play guitar. So, back in the day, I guess I was musically inclined, and they were kind enough to, nudge me in that direction. So I had music in my head for a long time. And it was as much, adolescent self-definition, and I wasn't, it's not like I was rebellious. I was an A student, and I, didn't get in trouble, but still want to establish your own identity. Mm-hmm. So my identity was music for angry little 14-year-olds who couldn't get dates, which is heavy metal. So there you have it.
All right. Sweet. Okay. So after roughly, 15 years, half a dozen albums, a couple live releases, being, an original member of Redemption, how do you feel the band has evolved over the years?
It's pretty remarkable in some ways that we've survived, because we do have, day jobs, and in the case of our singer and even to another degree our drummer and then Bernie, we have other musical projects going on. Mm-hmm. And, it's no secret that the health of the music business ain't what it was, which, is means that without those day jobs that cause problems and conflict, we wouldn't be able to be doing what we're doing. Yeah. So it's great that we're still here. It's great that we're still creating music that matters to people. It's great that we're working with somebody like a Metal Blade who has also survived, Now these are, nobody, if you had a blank piece of paper today, would say I'm going to start a music label. There's no money in it. So the people that are doing this are motivated by love and passion to create or to bring that music to people to hear. So that part of it's good. And there's nothing written in stone that says people deserve to make a, all Bernie Sanders supporters hear this. Nothing written in stone that says you deserve to make a living just because you feel like making money doing something. So the market sets what the market sets, and minimum wage for people that want to make music for a living is $0. Mm-hmm. So if you can find somebody to buy it at all, that's an upside. So we're glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so finally, whether if it's you specifically as a musician or Redemption as a whole, what's next for you?
Well, we were looking at tour dates. We were hoping actually to get to Europe this summer, but it's real hard to make that math work unless you can get on one of the major festival bills, and we were a little too late to the game to do that for this year. So next year is a possibility depending upon how busy Ray is with Faith. We're still talking about putting together some North American dates for the fall, and there are a couple of bands that we are looking at doing a package with for a few weeks at least. So early days to put that together, but we are hoping to get on the road in support of the record. And then some point soon, I'll get back to my library of riffs and start writing our follow-up.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, and best of luck in your...
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, no. Okay. Thank you
so
much. All right.
Thanks so much.
Yep, bye.
Bye-bye.